have a fun trip.
We will. Thank you. If you need anything beforehand, I know there's a lot going on in Atlanta. If you need anything in the meantime, just call her and we'll get everything worked out eventually. Thank you.
Before we start, I'd like to tell everyone that we have a new computer program here tonight. So please bear with us and don't laugh too much. We're going to do our best, but we're trying to muddle through this the best we can. So thank you for your patience. We will now call the March 9th, 2021 City Council meeting to order. We will ask, is James in here? Okay, would everyone please stand while James Dalton gives our invocation, followed by Mike Morris with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the day and the beauty of the day that we've got to enjoy, Father. We thank you for where we live, Father, the freedoms that we have, Father. We thank you for our health. We thank you for the breath of life you give us, Father. Lord, we just pray tonight as we do the city's business, Father, that we consider what is right among our citizens, Father, that we do our very best, Father. Lord, we pray for any oversights that we may make, Father. We thank you for our families. We thank you for where we live, Father. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Will you join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Have I entered mine? Do you have it, Cindy?
How do you do it?
Join me, and then present, and then save.
does he know? Tom, you haven't joined. Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Councilmember Shear,
Here.
Councilmember Tomlinson,
Here.
Councilmember Morris,
Here.
Vice Mayor Brittingham,
Here.
Mayor Groby.
Here, we do have a quorum. Do I do the first? Okay.
I have jumped down to the last item under consent, so you can say what you always say.
Okay, on the consent items, which is is number one on the order of business, we have, I believe we have, A through D. These can be voted on as one vote, or if anyone wishes to pull any of these out to vote on separate, they can do so at this time.
Move approval of the consent items, 1A through D.
I second.
Okay,
Now what?
vote yes and then save. Okay. Thank y'all for being so patient. Okay, are we ready to go?
No, still have Danny and Jerry, now I have Jerry.
You do? What'd I do? So are we voting on this, too?
Yeah.
I don't know how I voted. I mean, I know how I vote, will vote, but I don't know what I do to vote.
We might remind everybody, once you vote, that's it, right? You can't change your vote.
I can reset the whole thing.
Nothing ever came up.
Okay.
They voted or anything.
Jerry has not voted.
That little thing flopped down on mine.
Now, is that just pop up? Is that just gonna pop up?
Yes, when you vote, that's gonna pop up.
Okay.
Has everybody voted now?
So you're waiting on, still need to vote? Okay.
Did you hit save? Yeah, not hit save. Yep. I get it, see?
Okay. Are we ready to? Okay, under information item number 3,
Madam Mayor, and I know we're sort of feeling our way through this, but I think it would be appropriate if the clerk, with the microphone, announces the results of each vote, because we're a public meeting and streaming, and the people in the audience nor online know how the vote went. So unless it's on the board or otherwise, I think it would be appropriate for the clerk to announce the results of the vote.
Okay, on the consent item agenda, Odin Gruby, yes. Steve Brittingham, yes. Jerry Tomlinson, yes. Danny Shear, yes. Mike Morris, yes. And saved as passed.
next. Okay, number 3, information items, A through F. These are different reports from the different agencies. If anyone wishes to pull one out and discuss it or has any questions, do so. If not, we will approve them all as one information item. It's just information, we don't even have to approve them. Any questions or comments about any of them? If not, we'll move on to administration. Number 4. Number A, consider award of bid for brush hogging services.
If Caleb is not here, I can speak to it.
Mayor and council, we went out for bids. We got 4 bids back. After reviewing the bids, we want to make a recommendation to you for mowing Highway 75 through town, which is our responsibility, and also Highway 70. Last year, we had some of the contract mowers mowing in our park system. We're pulling them out. They're not included in this. This is just for highway right-of-way mowing. And we wanted to take this out for bid. And we, number one, don't have the equipment, and that's a dangerous occupation, mowing around the highway, so we think it better serves us to put our Parks Department back in our parks and contract this mowing out.
We don't vote on A, do we? We go right. Okay, number B, consider approval of 2021-20. Pardon?
Yes, we need to award the bid.
Okay. Do we have a motion that we award the bid?
Who do we have the bid from?
On item B,
Oh, we're going,
if we look at it, it will say
okay.
which there are 2 different companies that had the lower bid, coast to coast. Areas A1, A3, A4, and then Greenbelt Turf Management had area A2, and we had those on a map, and they bid based on the maps. So
What are the prices?
I don't have those, I'm sorry.
They're attachments,
It should be in your packet, though, I would,
they're attachments to the item,
yeah.
the bid pack.
Do we have to
Just
vote on?
so I'm clear too, item A is kind of information, is that right? And B is the actual consideration of the bid?
We need-
Item B has the proposed contracts. Item A is to award the bid to, as recommended by staff.
Okay, are those bids item B?
The bids, yes, the bids for the, item B contains the 2 contracts, and the bids that were recommended by staff. Item A, we first need to award those bids to those bidders.
Motion?
I'm saying,
Huh? We need a motion.
I make a motion, we approve the
Do we have a
bids for
second?
item 4B to the 2 companies listed in the agenda items here.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
We have a motion. We have a second. Cindy? Has everyone voted?
No, that's still waiting.
I haven't had anything come up with voting.
It didn't. You didn't have something drop down, did you?
There's a vote, there's no place to vote. After,
I think I did it.
still don't have anything here. You have to do that every time to vote.
If you stay here, it should pop up every time.
I didn't do anything before.
Did you vote, Danny? You gotta vote save. Hit click save right there. It won't let him click save.
That won't say.
Good now, Danny. Hey, Robert.
Okay, Danny, could you verbally vote, please?
Yes.
She's got to call out, have I voted? Huh? Oh, okay. Okay, item 4B, consider approval of 2021-2023 growing season brush hogging services contract with Coast to Coast, contracting for areas A-1, A-3, A-4, C-2021-06. Consider approval of 2021-2023 growing season brush hogging services contract with Greenbelt Turf Management for Area A2, C-2021-08. Discussion or motion?
So the previous motion was to award or approve the bids of the bidders. This is to actually award the contract
Right.
to the approved bidders.
I move we award the contracts to these two companies.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Miss Cindy, would you record the?
You wanna put both of these contracts under one vote, or I was gonna do two votes. Okay, I guess I have them together.
They're listed as one item, yes.
Okay.
Is that supposed to come up to vote again?
Yeah, everybody voted, Cindy?
No,
No.
I'm waiting on Jerry and Danny.
It's a long way over here. I guess all the electronics, it's been a lot
I
slower.
told you all it was gonna be funny. In a couple of months, we'll be old pros.
Goes on signed in.
I guess not. Now what tab? Go down here.
Just need Danny, he can't get back in
Okay,
there.
but I lost the agenda. I'm browsing as a guest.
Sure, I'd rather.
What is your vote, Dan?
Yes.
Is that all of them, Cindy? Okay, the vote is 5-0.
In case anybody's wondering, Mike Morris is one of my many aliases. I'm really Curtis Morris.
Okay. 4C, discussion, consideration, and possible action on Resolution R 2021-07, extending the emergency declaration until April 14th, 2021, due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
This just extends what we're currently doing and following the state law. The video and the teleconferencing was put back in place by the legislature and the governor, so that can be done now. And that is reflected in the resolutions.
Discussion or call for the vote?
Same as far as teleconferencing or Zoom or video?
Yes, sir, same as was put in place in the temporary order previously.
Motion?
Motion to approve Resolution R-2021-07, extending the emergency declaration.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, I'm gonna
Miss
do it.
Cindy, would you record the vote?
There we go, there we go. Are we voting? Is it, okay.
Danny get it? All right, Danny. Okay, let the record show that it was unanimous, 5-5. Okay, next item, number D, discussion, consideration, and possible action on appointments to the Keep Durant Beautiful Association Executive Board. You want to talk about that, John? You can. I think we have a full board now.
Yes, ma'am, with the applicants that we've received, if those are all appointed, then we will have a full executive board.
And we have 3 that are attached, applicants to be on the beautification board if they are approved. Do we have a motion? Well, I don't have it, I didn't bring it. I'm scared to leave out of these, do you? Huh? Okay.
Elizabeth Booth, Brandon Martin, and Connie Pettit.
There's another one.
Angelica Rosler.
Angelica Rosler, that's correct. Rosler, R-O-E-S-L-E-R.
Recommendation is to appoint all 4.
Yes, sir.
Move we approve the recommendation to appointments on the Keep Durant Beautiful Association.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Miss Cindy? It's working now, Danny.
Is that supposed to drop down?
Yeah. Renton.
There it is.
Oh, it finally showed up, okay.
Had to travel a long ways.
Okay, let the record show that all 5 council members voted yes. Motion carries. Okay, I got a feeling Miss Becca's up next. Number E, the Oklahoma Department of Emergency Management, OEM, 9-1-1 Management Authority Grant Award number F2172-103-S9 in the amount of $51,758 with a total project cost of $86,248 to implement a Geographic Information System, GIS upgrade for addressing and mapping necessary for the Durant Police Department Communication Center, C-2021-09.
Hi, good evening. You want to repeat all that? I'm just kidding. On February the 18th, we did receive the grant award notification for this grant, and I wanted to introduce it, and then if you have any questions specifically for it, you may want to ask Chief Hauser if you want to know more details of that. The grant is, and it's through the 911 board of the Oklahoma Emergency Management Office. They are providing the that's FEMA. FEMA money is providing the $51,748.80, which is federal dollars. And then the state 911 board is providing the $17,249.50, and this budget's in your packet. And then the Bryan County Fire Tax Funds will be used for the other portion of the match from $17,249.60 as well, for a total project of the $86,248.
Is there any discussion or questions? We're gonna have to vote on that, though. Do I have a motion?
We need a motion on E1. Is that what we're looking for?
To accept the grant. Yes, sir.
Move we accept the 2021 911 grant, management grant, in the amount of, help me out, $51,758.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Could I interject something right here? I just think that, and David, where are you? I think actually the they didn't accept, the grant would be in the amount of the FEMA $51,748 plus the 911 board money, correct? What are your thoughts?
Tom, this may certainly be a question for you on the assistance here. So the contract itself is for $86,248 is my understanding, and then our portion of it's going to be $17,000. So the grant is going to be 80% of the total cost. So how would you suggest we proceed with the approval?
Well, that appears to be correct. But the agenda item is for the acceptance of the $51,758 portion of the award. If there is a separate award from 911 that's coming for the other 20%, then that's not in this agenda item.
Well, but I think, Tom, that it's the full amount in the state and local agreement.
That very well may be true, but for purposes of this motion, we can't accept something that's not listed in the agenda item. The agenda item states that we're accepting the grant award of $51,758.
Why'd you go sit back down? Do what? I mean, what do you, I mean, it just really like slapped me in the face
I'm
because,
with Tom. The agenda item is for the acceptance of the 51,758. We accept that and then take whatever other action we need at a future date. We can't do anything different at this point. The item's very specific.
well, then I don't know. I guess move forward and I'll have to ask the state. We'll accept that because that is definitely,
Are those other two grants kind of local? I mean,
well, the Bryan County fire tax is the match commitment, yes. So that we don't have to accept that because we haven't
Right.
received it yet. Correct?
but you mentioned two different 17,000.
Well, yeah, because the state 911 is providing the 17,249.60.
When,
Well, we take
and-
care of that under number 2, and then work out, I mean, the local, that's just, I mean, I
you
guess
are,
it's understood it's gonna happen.
Councilman
Go
Thomas,
ahead.
you are spot on with your comments there. Again, the eligible obligation was for, man, you gotta excuse me, my eyes are getting bad, and this is really small. The total request amount of 86,000 plus 86,248, and so federal obligated was the 51,000 plus, and then the state obligated was 17,249. So the intent of this motion would have been to combine those two for a total project, and the state match from local share was the 17,000 from the fire tax money. This total project will cost the city of Durant $0. But again, if it's a technical error in the language, we can certainly approve what's written and come back and approve the other at another time, maybe a special meeting where we can get this GIS on board. I'll tell you, to be honest with you, the GIS project needs to move forward as quickly as possible to coincide with the Motorola CAD grant project. If the GIS project is delayed at any point, then the whole CAD project is delayed, which is set to go live in July. So there's the nuts and bolts of the situation that we find ourselves in, and obviously probably a clerical error.
It's totally my
Yeah.
fault. I just totally, because I was thinking about the FEMA grant.
So did that answer the questions about what funding's available, where the money's coming from, how much it's gonna cost the city?
I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I mean, I understand it. I think what the city attorney and the city manager is saying by our agenda that all we can consider is the 51,758 grant award. And for me, if it means meeting again, I have no objections to that.
But number
course.
2, Tom, is approving this agreement, which is for the full project. I still didn't find like the budget that was listed in here. And I have to return this document, I don't know, later in March, but I don't remember exactly what date it is.
Doesn't make any sense to me to approve what's written. I think we should do the whole thing over and maybe have a special meeting if we have to. I just don't think this is gonna fly.
I'm so sorry.
We probably need to table it. We probably need to table, I guess.
I'll withdraw my motion.
I think we have to take no action, because if you table it, it has to come back exactly like it is.
Okay,
And generally to the next regular meeting rather than a special meeting, so I would just take no action.
okay, no action on item E, and I assume that's 1, 2, and
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yes. I apologize.
Thank you, Becca.
I'm glad I caught it, though.
The next item, we're now moving into the public hearing portion of our meeting. And I guess, Danielle, are you the one gonna kick her off here?
Yes. Just wanted to give you time in case you had anything else they needed to do. So.
I didn't know Cindy was ready.
Okay.
Sorry, Cindy.
So this item was one that you guys had before you last month, but we ultimately tabled it because we left off a piece for the preliminary plat. That has been fixed now, so we have before you a preliminary plat and rezoning application. This is for what's going to be called Rodeo Hills Edition. It's off of South 9th and Rodeo Road. So if there's an existing subdivision there now to be just to that north. It's a triangle piece of property. They are looking at, the plat shows about 85 acres total, or 85 lots total. It's about 24 acres. There are going to be some lots that will not be usable due to a sewer line that's in the area, and then also due to the water retention, detention that's going to have to occur. Those plans have not been completed, to my knowledge, as of yet. Once that happens, and some of those lots may not be, that may change how many lots are actually usable. So that may change, but at least they're platted. We did have several citizens have various comments on this. I believe several of them are here this evening, so I'll let them kind of speak to their concerns. This was heard by Planning Commission a couple different times due to some changes that the applicant decided to make to the plan about midstream, and he originally wanted R3 and went to R1 to make it more compliant with the area. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that's real key. The comp plan currently does have this as ag, at least the one we're using now, but that obviously is being looked at by Planning Commission this month, so hopefully that will be to you guys by April. But if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them. The applicant's also here, and representatives.
Did the planning commission approve this?
So this was a tie vote. That was the other thing I meant to mention. This was a tie vote, which meant that there was no recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Okay.
We do have the chairman of the Planning Commission here who can kind of speak to kind of what happened. The original motion was to deny, but we only had 4 members present, and it was two to deny and 2 not to deny. So it was a tie vote. The city staff has looked over the application, has signed off on everything, and then they're fine with the project the way it is. But I can let Mr. Keener kind of explain the Planning Commission side if you'd like to hear that as well.
Okay, you recommended.
Yes, staff does have a recommendation for it, yes.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak, either pro or con? I know you people on this side are from that area. Okay. Would you please give your name, ma'am?
My name is Rita Thomas.
Rita
Thomas.
Thomas.
I live at the corner of Walnut and Pecan at 2802 Walnut Road. We moved here in 2013, and when we first moved here, we were guaranteed that the roads there on Rodeo Road would be upgraded, sewer, drainage, single-lane road, heard it all. But right now, Rodeo Road is tore up, falling apart. They come out, they patch it. It's hang on to your seatbelt because you're going down Rodeo Road. It's that bad. Lots of traffic are going from Highway 78 to 9th Street. A lot of them from Industrial Boulevard, which is where Gameco and all of them are. They come down Rodeo Road. The sewer and the drainage. In 2015, our den flooded and the carpet was destroyed. At that point in time, I had breast cancer, and at that point in time, my son had Hodgkin's lymphoma. He is deceased now. We called and told him about what happened and had the carpet pulled up and everything because of mildew, mold, everything. I was very susceptible to that. We didn't have flood insurance because we're not in a flood zone. So everything that was destroyed in the flood of our backyard because of the sewage and the drainage, we had to take care of ourselves. Right now, if it rains really bad, the toilets overflow. We have a drain in our laundry room that we have to put towels around to make sure that it does not come up and flood through the wall into our bedroom, which can cause more trouble. We don't know what needs to be done on that part. We're just to a point right now that we're barely surviving in that area with everything that is going on. The city has went down to the very end of Pecan where it dead ends and dug a hole. And they've went in and did some repairs on that. I did get a statement from Randy Cantrell that said the only thing that they have at that location, which is where the emergency exit is going to be, is a 12-inch sewer line that has a manhole at that same spot. On the west side of the manhole, which would be toward Pecan, there's more likely clay tile, and on the east side it was replaced with some of that was PVC. So some of the repairs have been done, some have not been done. We still suffer from that. Single lane bridge, I did some research on it. At the planning committee, nobody knew who was responsible for the bridge. Well, the very nice people at the Capitol were able to get me websites and stuff. The city is responsible for this bridge. The last inspection on it was done in 2018. It's supposed to be done every 12 months. I have all the reports here. I'll let you have them. Tells you all about the bridge and everything, all the requirements, the structures and everything on it. And one of the things that the planning committee was 50-50 about was that the bridge, they're concerned about it. If the division is, if rodeo division is, or addition is added to this area, we're looking at approximately, I think, 161.5 vehicles more in our area going over that bridge. Yes, there are other outlets down Industrial Boulevard toward Gameco, come out by Kiamichi, or going east, you know, on Rodeo Road. So there are 3 outlets to that area. We know where everybody's going to go over 9th Street. We can't say they're not going to. So that was the concern that we had on it. The other thing that they were concerned about that was major, I don't know if y'all got a map of the planning of the lots and everything. You should have got it. I'm pointing this out because I live here. This is Pecan Road coming in from Rodeo Road here, okay? They have the emergency exit here. Where does it end up? At the corner of Pecan and Walnut. If anything happens, which there's 4 houses on that intersection. If anything happens to any of those 4 houses, this emergency exit is not an exit. It ends up at the same place. Now, they will tell you that they are landlocked. There is no other entrances available for this property. But that doesn't give them an excuse to just come over here, which Melba Graham lives here. She owns both of these lots. Come behind her house and put an emergency exit, which ends up at the same place where they're coming in off of Rodeo Road. This is what we're concerned about. The flooding that we have, this was just, I think it was 2 months ago. This is in our backyard. This is Pecan. It's over the curb. It is flooding. It is bad. Now, I know that we've been instructed that if the housing addition is done, that the ponds will be created. I don't know right now if the curbs will be made down on, if you've ever been out in that area, if you come out on Willow Road, there was no curbs, there's no drainage, nothing till you get about halfway down on Walnut Road. Then you get curbs, but there's no gutters, you know, it just runs around the corner down Pecan and then down into the stream. So that's some of the concerns that we have. I don't want to go through what I went through in 2015. It's very touchy for me with my house. We are about to do some remodeling in our house because we want to stay there. This is our house. We moved from the Panhandle of Oklahoma, and we really like this area. And I really don't want to disturb the area that we're in, but you know, I know there's progression going on in Durant, and that's great. I mean, I work for Van Meter Realty. I mean, hello, you know. So I'm just concerned of what the neighborhood will turn into if these 85 houses are added behind us, and the traffic that would be going through that area, the emergency exits, stuff like that. So that is my concerns. If you want information on the bridge, I'm more than welcome to give it to you. Websites, they were wonderful people, emailed me back, gave me all the information needed, very informational. So I can always get that to you if you want it. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else wish to speak? I might remind you to watch the clock. Can you reset it?
My name's Alan Jultz. That's J-U-E-L-C-H. And the reason I tell you that is because everyone asks, how do you spell that? We live at J-U-E-L-C-H. We live at 2725 Walnut Road, which is catty-cornered from Rita and Allen. Our house is approximately 3 to 4 foot above their side of the road, their side of Walnut Street. But I will tell you, when it rains a lot in the spring, it backs up to our house, in our house as well. We've been lucky that it hasn't flooded our house, but we can't use the toilets in our house until the water's pumped out. And we've had professional plumbers here in Durant come out and said, it's not your plumbing, it's the city sewer. We call the city sewer, they come out and they say, it's not us. I'll sit there and watch them, 30, 45 minutes, they come right back with a pump truck and pump the pipes out. You know, next time I'll video it if I have to. Our concern is the same as Rita's and everyone else's, the traffic. You know, I believe that Durant's on the grow. It's been on the grow, my goodness, since early 90s. You know, there's other places I feel around Durant that this project could be done. The one intersection there it's just not going to work. And like she said, the emergency exit comes right back to that intersection. It's not going to work. Am I afraid of living with a bunch of other houses and homes around me? No. If I was, I wouldn't have bought the one I have. I'd have bought somewhere else out in the country farther and had 10 or 15 acres because nobody got around me. But we like where we live. My concern also is 9th Street, the intersection of 9th Street and Rodeo Road over the bridge. We all know there have been accidents there. There's been fatalities there. What's going to happen with more traffic, more lined up over that bridge in the morning? 18-wheeler gets hung up on it because you all know they ignore the signs. There's one hung up on it yesterday. You know, and there's signs all up and down Rodeo Road, no trucks, and they still try to go over it, and they get hung up on it. What's going to happen when one gets hung up on it at 7 o'clock in the morning and everybody's trying to go to work? Are they all going to go the other direction towards 78? No. But still, even that way, then it's going to be trouble, and we've had wrecks at 78 and Rodeo Road as well. The traffic's it's just not going to work. I also remember that a comment was made back during the building committee that, well, maybe we need to widen Pecan Road 50 to 50 foot. No, that's ridiculous. That's as wide as this room. The curb to curb now is 27 foot. I measured it myself. It's 27 foot on Pecan Street, curb to curb. If you widen that another 24 foot, you're going to take out half of everybody there's driveway, yard. Melba, the lady she spoke about across from them, she's not going to have a driveway. It's going to take out almost all of her driveway. She's going to turn off the street, boom, right into her garage. So what? Other people do in Durant. That's the way their area was built. Ours wasn't. So, you know, the concerns are there. And I'm going to finish with this. Think about it. Make your decision. But what if one of your loved ones was down in that new area that's supposed to be built, and they had a life-threatening situation, an ambulance goes in to get them. The next thing you know, we have a fire truck blocking that intersection or that street, and that ambulance can't get out with your loved one. Think about that. There's no way out. Care flat? Yeah, we got med flats. But is that what it's going to take every time someone down there needs to get to the hospital because they're dying? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else? Danielle, did you want to say something else?
I don't have anything unless you have questions for me.
No. Kevin, did you want to say something?
You have questions on that, Angela?
Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question.
Who do you want to ask?
I guess probably Marty Cook.
Yes, sir. What can I do for you?
Are these houses gonna be served, by the same 12-inch sewer line that has every time
Historically had some
during a
problems.
heavy rain, there's raw sewage that flows out of the manholes there by the
There,
Woodland?
it is on the same line. Obviously, these houses will be farther downstream. And we have been working on that line, trying to find some of the deficiencies. We're gonna work with Jay if he gets to develop this, and he's actually gonna help us get to some areas we can't get to through the development. But yes, it is the same line. It comes from over at the Choctaw RV Park through their neighborhood, and then it heads north across pasture back to the city, public
So
works.
the issue has not been resolved.
Now, I will tell you this, we had a flow study performed on that line. Actually, Jay paid for it with an engineer, and the flow on the line is not bad. It's infiltration. When it rains,
Yeah,
that's a really deep,
I know, I'm personally acquainted
yeah.
for every time, I know in the last 20 years, you get a heavy rainfall, raw sewage flows out of the manholes.
Yeah, it's infiltration coming in down there.
Yes.
And, I mean, we're trying to fix it. We're gonna do some smoke testing out there too, but we gotta be able to get to the line. That's been part of the problem.
Don't you think we ought to fix it before you add more to it?
I'm not voting on this. This is you guys' decision. I think there's plenty of capacity there for it. I think
Except when it rains heavy.
continually working on it and trying to find the deficiencies in that sewer line for sure. You know,
Marty,
another thing, whenever those flooded so bad a couple years ago, and I think most of them have resolved that now, but nobody had backflow devices on their sewer lines, and it came in their house. Now, with a backflow device, it will stop it outside. Now, you can't flush your toilet until the water goes down, but it will at least keep it from coming in the house. And that was part of the problem with the damage to the homes as well.
Marty, I went out there 2 or 3 years ago and saw some of the water that was out there and
Sure.
how bad it was. And I tend to kind of agree with Danny, excuse me, Councilman Shara, that if the problem hasn't been solved in that length of time, we should solve that problem before we create another problem.
Well, it's
Or is that not, I mean, if you got the problem already, it's just gonna add more to the problem, it
Adding
seems.
more crap to crap is gonna be more crap.
right. All we can do is work on it as fast as we can. I mean,
Right.
you know that.
Okay, and Marty, the only other thing I'm worried about is that humpback bridge. I mean, I know that there would be another way out of there, I believe, to turn and go cross over to Walden Drive. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, there's two other ways.
There's two other ways out. And so I'll put it this way too. We talked about that emergency exit a lot. The fire marshal is signed off on that as far as a fire safety plan, that he was okay with that sharing an intersection. The bridge, we all know has been there a long time and needs some work, was actually inspected in August of 2020 and is cleared for action. Nothing, had some minor scaling on it, but it wasn't dangerous by any means. And the
Part of the guardrail's gone right now.
infrastructure of the bridge, in my honest opinion, is not the responsibility of the landowner to try to develop. Just like when we try to ask people to build a new road for us so that they can have better traffic, I think that's our responsibility, obviously.
Well, can I interject right here? Because I know there's been discussions on that humpback bridge, I guess that's what we call it. James, if you would kind of help me remember too, but what I recall is, because we've had discussions over the years, we at one time discussed totally replacing that and straightening it, but the railroad, I'm sorry, as I recall, the railroad folks kind of got the last say in this, don't they?
At one point in time, in about 2002, when I was on planning and zoning, and we did a street and infrastructure study at that time, the plan was to try and go over 9th Street, over the railroad, and connect to Choctaw Road.
Right.
We actually got a small portion of a grant, not enough to pay for the entire reconstruction. If I remember at the time, that money then was repurposed to another bridge somewhere else, and it never did get resolved.
But wasn't the railroad part of the obstacle, or?
The railroad we have to negotiate with them, because part of it is they have some right-of-way there, and it has to be a certain height so that their train traffic can pass underneath it. But I don't remember any of the other details other than that. And
I
believe
remember that the engineering studies came in about 4 or 5 times.
the grant money.
amount
Yes, sir.
Money that we had to spend on it.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I want to say that's 2002, 2003. Does that sound about right? On
Maybe.
that?
About right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's correct.
I can probably find a copy of that study, engineering study. I think I've still got one.
Yes, yes. And I don't think there's been any action since that, on that.
Well, in my memory too was just
Right.
that the railroad folks kind of were throwing a wrench in what we, maybe in the cost or whatever, but, and that was part of the problem too, but, I mean, I'd want the folks to know that's been considered over the years, but there's, of course, financial, and then having to work with the railroad folks is not always easy.
The supports for that bridge is actually on their right-of-way, on their easement. We can't close it because at that time, there was a train down that track about every 47 minutes or so. It's a real busy line, and they were concerned, obviously, about any loss of revenue if anything was done that precluded that track. So, but that's the best I can recall on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have any more questions for Marty?
I just want to add, Marty made a comment, I just want to make sure everyone's clear. He said there's 2 ways out, over the bridge and over to Walden Street. But if this house addition's built, there's only 1 way out to Rodeo Road. Then you can go over the bridge or the other way, but there's only 1 way out of that house addition. I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Does anybody else wish to speak? Anyone else? Anyone else? Any of the council members have any questions? Or are we ready to call for the vote?
Probably need to close the public hearing.
Oh, okay. We'll now close the public hearing. And let me see what I have down here. Number 2, consider nope.
I have another question, maybe if I can. Well,
Jerry, are you asking a question? I'm sorry.
Is this consider a rezoning request, or is there an actual plat?
It is both. It is both. It's for a preliminary plat and rezoning. So the ordinance is for rezoning, and then there's a preliminary plat that's tied to that. So it's both. It's a preliminary plat and rezoning put together.
Okay, thank you.
Is anybody here to speak for it? Other than they've obviously spent some money trying to do this thing.
Would you want to come forward? Give your name, please.
J. Mauck, M-A-U-C-K.
Did you get that, Cindy? bear with us. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I don't have all the answers, but on the sewer part, we have done a lot of research on that, and we spent some money to do a study on the flow before we ever got to a planning and zoning meeting, because that was a concern of ours. So the study was done through Barker Engineering. They outsourced it to a professional that came in and did the study. Marty does have a copy of that, and it came back, and I don't remember exactly what it said, but the capacity was enormous, like hundreds and hundreds of homes that could carry the capacity of that sewer line. So, to say that the sewer line is of concern when it rains has no bearing on the capacity of the sewer. So it is my understanding that the line has the capacity to do it. So I do know that for a fact, and I can't speak to the flooding part of the sewer.
Do you want to have 85 homeowners calling you when it rains? We can't flush our toilets.
I do not.
Don't you
I
think
do
you
not.
ought to have that problem taken care of before you build 85 homes?
I understand the concern. I'm not a sewer expert. We hired a guy to tell us if that line has the capacity to carry what we're proposing, and they said it came back overwhelmingly that it could support the drainage. So it is now city. It is city code now that we have to put a backflow preventer on our homes. So we are putting a backflow preventer on our homes to prevent something like that. If the sewer line gets to capacity and it can't drain quick enough.
I wouldn't be very happy with you if I bought a home for you and find out that when it rains real heavy, I can't flush my toilets.
Well, if they call me and I say that it's the city, it's going back to Marty,
You're gonna
right?
put it on us. Yeah.
Right.
So maybe we ought to fix the problem before
Well,
build more homes.
I understand. So the capacity's there. Obviously, the drainage is an issue. The drainage in that area, we'll have a full engineering study done, performed. This is just a preliminary plat. So if it was to be approved, it's going to go to Barker Engineering to take care of the flooding issues. And if you remember the problems in Heritage, that was a major. So if you remember the engineering that came back in the new Heritage phase 3, we had all those detention ponds built, and it pretty well fixed the problem. The city doesn't get the calls anymore on that. So what I'm saying is I think that the drainage can be addressed pretty easily with some engineering, and that's done with retention or detention. But I just hate to see that the city of Durant lose out on homes that we could be collecting revenue on, and they're going to be built somewhere. And what we're seeing a lot of developers going out into the county, and doing that. So we have worked with every department head on your staff, and they have all signed off on the project. They've had a lot of questions and concerns from the fire entrance and exits, and from the zoning part of it. We went to the least restrictive zoning that would better fit into the neighborhood. And I know my time's out, but I guess that's go ahead, Jim.
You mentioned the drainage concerns, and I know the engineering and detention ponds and retention, I think, was referred to, but and I've just kind of familiar with how that works over the years, but that has to be accepted at planning and zoning or community development as far as the engineers work on the drainage issues.
Only the preliminary plat will have to be heard by planning commission, which it was, and then the final plat. So typically, it's any major, streets, thoroughfares, anything that's gonna be dedicated to the city is usually what's heard within a preliminary plat. It's not uncommon for drainage to be done at a later time. It does have to be reviewed by a city engineer, which will be done. But it doesn't have to go, the drainage piece does not have to go to planning commission.
Okay, I'm trying to address the concerns of the drainage and the existing drainage.
All the engineering will be turned in to the city and then reviewed by the city engineer before any dirt work could ever be done. I think that's what she
Has to be approved, has to be
Yes.
approved?
Yes, the city engineer, our city engineer, so Brandon Wall will have to do essentially look at what is engineering
Mhm.
and make sure it'll work. Make sure the numbers are right, make sure the drainage will be taken care of.
Is it just drainage for this addition, or would it enhance or help any of the existing?
He'll look at the whole area and see how much flow of water is coming across the property. And then he'll design a plan to accommodate and not let out any more water than what's coming off of it now.
Okay.
Does anyone want to come off that property? Onto their property? It flows the other direction, correct?
The water
I don't-
comes from, because where the railroad tracks is, it flows downhill towards the drainage ditch that runs right along the back of that property. In between those two, it runs across there.
You
I
need
think
to come up,
Your 24 acres on the downhill side of it, isn't it?
It's all
the
going
lower
east.
side of it.
It's all going east to the pecan bottom. Yeah.
Would you
It's
give
not
your
going
name,
up to the
please?
addition.
Alan Thomas.
Alan Thomas?
Alan. I live at 2802 Walnut Road. Yeah, we've seen the water. The water comes down through that. There's like a pasture back there, and it runs back down towards the bottom of the hill there, and it all gathers. There's a kind of a drainage ditch that runs out across the property on the back side. So when it really rains, it comes down that street, floods that street, and then it comes down from the back of that property and runs all together down to that drainage ditch, and everything runs out from there. But it'll back up over the top and come back up the street. We've had, look out there, we've got Thomas River. It's just a big, you can't see the curbs. They're over the top. So if they want to address the drainage, that's great. But we don't want all the water, coming down on us, and we have more water than we need right now. So.
Would this be below you, sir, or would it?
Excuse me?
Would the water
Well, they
go
say
from-
they've got an engineer that can, address the water problems, and that's fine, but we'll be happy to take some of the water that we get now and get rid of it.
Well, that's my question too. If it would, the drainage that we're addressing, or that your engineers would address, would it help with what's already a problem?
That will be up to the engineer, but the ordinances just simply say it can't make it any worse.
Yeah,
So it doesn't say it can improve it, it just won't make it any worse.
okay.
Now, could it improve it? Possibly, but again, I'm not an engineer, so I couldn't speak to that.
Yeah, and a lot of that water comes from that, we're talking about the sewer overflowing.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of that water comes from. It just floods.
What's
all
it gonna
over,
take
so.
for
Thank
this?
you, guys.
Thank you very much.
John and Marty, what I'm hearing is the issue is from the excessive rain, or on occasion, a lot of rain that infiltrates our sewer line,
Yes.
and that's what's causing these folks some problems.
We don't
It's gonna be
know-
a problem for 85 new homes. So what
So
do we need to do to think about fixing that?
there's a couple things. This line is running out through a pasture. and it's just really hard to get to. Our camera truck won't go out through that pasture. So we've got a smaller camera coming that's more portable, so we can get out in that pasture and actually camera those lines. That's one plan that we already have in place that we're going to start on pretty soon. We've done some repair and replacement up there close to their subdivision where we could get to it, but we haven't done off in the pasture. And you got to remember, Jay's going to be tying in, probably 500 feet downstream from this neighborhood. So he's actually adding the houses downstream from the neighborhood that's having the problem. I can't tell you right now if the line is stopped up and it's backing up to that point, or if we got somebody running a whole bunch of water in it over on the 9th Street side that's overfilling it with rainwater, right? I don't know if it's got more coming in from 9th Street or if it's stopped up south of them or north of them and then backing up to their subdivision. It's hard to say, because when you go out there and it's full, it's so full you can't tell which direction it's running. And I've been out there 100 times.
I just think we ought to fix that problem before we add to it.
Again, and we're actively working on that. We're going to try some smoke bombs out there and try to see if that helps us locate it. We're going to try the smaller camera to see if we can get ID on it. It's just not been completed yet. Every time we find a problem, we resolve it, and it gets a little better, I think.
Why don't we fix it, then we come back and look at adding more houses to it.
And again, you guys are voting on this, not me, right? My only thing is I hate to hold a developer responsible for my shortcomings. The same thing with the bridge. It's not really his responsibility to put a new bridge in. There are some places where you could kind of pull that in the agreement, but that's not how we do things in Oklahoma.
I wouldn't be very happy if I bought a house and found out that I can't flush my toilet.
I absolutely agree. I also know that when he gets out there and pushes that dirt around, it's going to be easier for me to get to all those lines and check them and fix them and everything, because there's going to be clear space to drive. It's actually going to help me reach them quicker. But again, I can't tell you what the default is right now. I do think it's gotten better. I mean, would you guys agree we've made some progress? I don't remember anybody's house flooding in the last 5 years.
I mean, the city has the easement to put that sewer line in.
Oh, it's in an easement, yes.
So
It's just off across the pasture and through a ditch and with trees, and you just can't drive it.
Marty, is it safe to say that if the drainage is improved, that it would help the
Well,
sewer
it wouldn't
system?
hurt it, for sure, yeah. And the way the water runs from their development onto his property, basically, he's gonna be taking in a lot of that water and then running it through his system, just natural flow of the land. And the engineer will take that into account as well. So it's a catch-22, Danny, and I understand. If it said no, there wasn't enough capacity on the line, I'd have told him no before he got to you.
yeah,
But because there's capacity and 87% free space or something like that, it was huge capacity.
yeah, except when it rains heavy.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't know how far downstream that happens. That's what we're trying to find out still. I'm sorry.
My question is for Marty. You've told us for about the last 5 years, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, that sewer pipe runs east and then north.
It
And
runs,
there's no lines where he's building. I mean,
it runs across the corner of his property.
it must be the very backside of it then,
It cuts it off on the corner.
on the corner,
Yeah.
okay, on the corner. Add the pros and the cons up, too much traffic, already 5 years worth of sewer problems. One pro, tax revenue.
Actually,
Any
we
other
don't get tax
questions for
revenue.
Marty or anyone else? Thank you, Marty. We've closed the, wait a minute.
My name is Kent Daniel, I'm sorry.
What's your name, sir?
Kent Daniel, K-E-N-T, D-A-N-I-E-L.
Did you get that said?
I'm the current owner of the property we're talking about. Me and my dad had bought this back about 12 years ago, and I've lost him a couple years ago, but it was his dream to develop that. And well, I just can't hardly do that on my own, so I decided to go ahead and sell it. And so, but we're concerned about that road. He said it was 27 foot. You better curb to curb. First Street is 21 foot. How much traffic does First Street get going up through there? You know, that's not an excuse. That bridge has been, huh?
First Street's wider than that street.
Well, maybe. We have Englewood out there, the drive. Bunch of homes back in there, and they got a small road. I don't remember it had any problem with wrecks or anything on it. But I think we just need to move forward with this development. This bridge has been out forever and ever, and it's like, well, let's wait, and just get it fixed. Well, we ain't got nothing fixed yet, so I think we need to go ahead and move forward with this housing and get some growth in this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else?
Mayor,
We-
I got a quick question for Marty.
Okay.
Try to do this without coughing. You talk about smoke tests and stuff, and you can't access the property. How long would it take you to coordinate something like that, to be able to do smoke testing on that particular sewer line?
To do it right, we really need to do it between Billy Miller Park, you know where I'm talking about, all the way to the RV park. And we're gonna have to kind of do it in sections. I just got, Anthony is the one that actually mentioned smoke test to me. We were talking about it a few weeks ago, and he said he thought the smoke test would probably be the smartest way. But once you set the smoke off, you gotta find it, right? And you can't see all that line at one time. So you kind of really do it in corridors, and then you walk the line to try to locate it. We also got to coordinate with any houses or industries or whatever to make sure they know what's going on. It's definitely one of our priorities, but as you know, we have 52 leaks, and there's a lot of priorities sometimes. So it doesn't always get handled as quickly as we'd like. What we need to do is actually go walk that entire line, or drive it with a camera and a mule or something like that, if we can get to it.
I'm not gonna hold you to a timeline. I just
Yeah,
want
I
a rough
mean,
idea if
I-
you were able to start on it tomorrow, get the ball rolling.
I would say it might actually be a better idea to hire somebody to smoke test for us, because we could probably get it done quicker that way. And I don't think it would be that extremely expensive, but if we hired a professional to come out and do it, we could probably get it done a lot quicker, and I'll definitely look into that. I mean, once they coordinate, you give them a couple weeks, you smoke it, and you're out there all weekend looking. I mean, it really doesn't take that long, you know. But what happens if you don't find anything? You're back to square one, looking for a deliberate infiltration or a break in the bottom of a creek bank somewhere that is hard to discover. So if it's underwater, you don't always see the smoke. It's just one of many things we're going to try.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? The public hearing is closed. Item 2, consider action on ordinance 2021-05, section 1. Any discussion? Are we ready to call for the vote? Do we have a motion?
I move we approve ordinance 0-2021-05, section 1.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second and ask for discussion.
We have a second in discussion.
You know, it's a tough call. Worked with Jay over the years too, and had some considerations over the years. The truth is, we need more quality homes in Durant. J. Paul mentioned, or someone mentioned, there are homes being built, but many are out in the county. And for the record, too, the homes whether in the city or in the county, the city receives no revenue other than the utilities, the electric, the water or gas, electric, no, not even electric, but water and sewer, and trash. No property taxes come to any city in the state of Oklahoma unless voted upon by the residents. But Durant is in need of homes. I want to see us really focus on helping these folks with their concerns over the years that Steve asked or Vice Mayor asked, how we can move forward too. But Councilman Scherer has a big concern, as we all do. But I just would suggest that we put a real high priority on that area and that sewer issue, so that any new homes or existing homes in that area wouldn't have to experience the things we've heard about tonight. And that's all I have to say.
We have a motion, we have a second. We'll call for the vote. Drop down, Danny. Motion carries, motion carries with 4 for and 1 against. Are we going to take a recess?
Need section 2.
Okay. Let me get back there. Okay, item B, consider, wait a minute. Consider action on ordinance 2021-05, section 2, emergency clause. Do we have a motion?
I move we approve ordinance O-2021-05, section 2, emergency clause.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk record the vote? Are we? Hey, John, do you want us to recess out and go into executive session? What would be better? It's not much on that other stuff. Okay, I'll have to figure out how to get to the other one.
What else am I supposed to be clicking on? That's not clicking on all of these.
Are we ready for our next item? Okay.
Hasn't come up for me to vote yet.
Oh.
No.
Are we ready for the next? Okay. Okay. Are we ready for our next item? Cindy, you ready? Okay. Raise your hand when you're ready. Okay, our next item, number 6, executive session. 6A, consider executive session for discussing the purchase of or appraisal of real property by the Durant Industrial Authority. This executive session authorized by Title 25, Section 307B3 of the Oklahoma State Statute. We now recess or go into executive session, and we have to have a vote. Do we need a motion? To have a motion?
I move we enter into executive session.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Will the clerk record the vote? Did yours pop down there that time?
I vote, yes. I vote yes on this one. Oh, there it comes. All
To
right.
get it? All right.
All right.
Take my water.
That's the right thing to vote it.
Didn't come up for me.
I didn't know how to change it. Come back in, and I figured you'd take it as break. Jerry? Oh, he hasn't voted.
It hadn't come up. No, let Crystal go. Huh?
What's your verbal vote? Did you vote yes?
Yes. Guess I could have voted no.
else to.
motion to re-enter the, regular meeting out of executive session.
Your microphone on?
Motion to reconvene.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Clerk, record the vote.
I'm gonna have to have help, Brenton. I can't get back into the agenda. What are you doing when you do that? So I don't have to-
Has yours dropped down, Danny?
It has this time.
See, mine hadn't dropped down.
Over here?
Mine didn't drop down this time. What did you do? Anything's gonna throw me for a loop?
I hear it. Now, which return though, obviously? Probably should.
That screen never screwed up. There we go.
Pass 5-0 to reconvene. A, under executive session, consider executive session for discussing the purchase or appraisal of real property by the Durant Industrial Authority. This executive session authorized by Title 25, Section 307B3 of the Oklahoma State Statutes. Do we have any discussion, or do we have a motion?
Yeah, we gotta go to B. We've
Go to
already
B.
done A.
Oh, consider action pursuant to item 6A. Thank you.
I make the motion that we approve purchase of the property at the southwest corner of Hillcrest and McLean that was previously approved by the DIA board.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Would the clerk ready to record the vote? We're getting faster now, aren't we?
Back where I was, I tried it, didn't it? Sorry, man. Yeah, I took that.
Y'all have to come back next time. We're gonna be so good at this.
Which is the refresh.
Front and center, Kenny.
I think this one has a mind of its own anyway,
Okay. Motion carries 5-0. Number 7, new business. We having no new business. Do we have a motion for adjournment? Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. The clerk ready to record the vote? Yes.
I'm rolling, rocking the boat. I've had my second, I'm good. I should be 85–90% good. Plus the fast, whatever, I tested positive.
It's getting a little bit easier, isn't it, Danny? Okay, everybody
Somebody got hurt.
voted to adjourn except,
That was Curtis.
okay, well, you can just stay here the rest of the night then. Okay, we are now adjourned out of, well, I don't know how I can't get into the other meeting. We need a motion to go to the, utility authority. I thought we just had a motion to adjourn. Oh,
Just a tiny, just a.
so we're ready to go to the next part. Where is the,
What'd I do? I'm there. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I get ahead.
You might be too far ahead.
I'm on utilities, I think.
I don't know where to go here.
Thanks.
Right here? Go ahead. Okay, I was gonna say they'd put me all the way.
Without a doubt.
Okay, this now I'm back like I was at my, okay. Cindy, tell me when we're ready to,
Okay, you should see an invitation to join.
oh,
I guess I mean,
I don't see an invitation to join.
You should say,
I don't have that, Cindy.
Yours doesn't ask if you want to leave council?
I'm already over on the utility department. Where are you at, Danny? You in the different?
I'm in the utility meeting.
Cindy, I was supposed to ask to get, it was supposed to tell me, I'm in the utility authority.
Steve should be.
I didn't have anywhere it told me to join.
I'm not that I'm
Well, I know.
I didn't leave that meeting. That's what I didn't do. Yes. Okay, I got you. Is everybody ready?
I think I'm in. Did it ask me to join? Oh. Oh, okay.
Everybody ready? Cindy?
Got to leave the other meeting. I was still.
Okay.
Just talking to me. Yes. Big people do well.
We ready? Did you say okay? Everybody ready? Okay, it is 5 minutes to 8 p.m. on March the 9th, 2021, and the Durant City Utilities Authority is now in session. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Shear,
Here.
Trustee Tomlinson,
Here.
Trustee Morris,
Here.
Vice Chairman Brittingham.
Here.
Chairman Groby.
Here. We're all here, so we have a quorum. Ready to go to keep on going? Okay, under consent items, we only have one item. A, consider approval of regular call meeting minutes of February the 9th, 2021. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve consent item.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Would the clerk please record the vote?
Brent, you getting your steps in, it hadn't come up for me to vote.
Motion carried on consent item. Number 3, information items. If anyone has any questions or comments, you may do so at this time. If not, we will go on. Anybody have any questions or comments? Number 4, administration. 4A, discussion and possible action regarding water delivery contract with Rural Water District Number 5.
Who wants to lead?
I'll take off first. This is probably something the city manager ought to take the lead on. He brought this to my attention. So there's been a long-standing contract with the Utilities Authority to sell water to Rural Water District Number 5. And with certain provisions in the contract, one of which is they can purchase a maximum of 1 million gallons a day. I don't know how stringent that was anticipated to be enforced, if it was an average million or an absolute million, but regardless, it turns out they have been far exceeding that 1 million gallons per day. In 22 of the last 24 months, they have exceeded 1 million gallons a day on average, and in some months, doubled that. So most months that may not be a problem. Sometimes if we've got diminished capacity or whatever, that becomes a problem. Nevertheless, whether it's problematic or not, it's a violation of the term of our contract. Perhaps more disturbing is that one of the terms of the contract is that Rural Water 5 sells the water that they purchase from the Utilities Authority to end users, to consumers, their customers. It turns out that they have been selling millions and millions of gallons of water to the town of Calera at a markup. So they have made hundreds of thousands of dollars marking up the water approximately 16% over what they've been purchasing it from the Utilities Authority and forwarding that on to the town of Calera. ultimately, the contract may need to be revised. That may be okay with the utilities authority, but it's a violation of the current contract. So whether the utilities authority wants to amend the contract to allow that, or wants to enter into an agreement with the city of Calera to sell water directly, or wants to cut that off altogether, that's up to the utilities authority. But once made aware of that, I have sent a letter to the administrator of the the chairman of the rural water district. Haven't received anything back yet, but directing them to immediately cease and contact the authority and the city manager to discuss the terms of the contract. But I think it's important that the utilities authority knows what the city manager discovered, and that is some fairly significant violations of the terms of the contract. This contract goes back, this most recent version is a July 2012 contract, but the utilities authority has for really a long time been exceeding both the usage permissions and apparently violating the term that prohibits them from selling to another reseller rather than an end user.
I have not gotten a response from Rural Water District 5.
Tom, do we have knowledge, is that the only retailer they are selling to?
There appears to have been some smaller sales to, and less routine sales to the town of Colbert. It appears as maybe in emergency situations or, something less routine, whether, I don't know what the details were, maybe Colbert has a particular need, or they have some equipment go down, or something like that where there is a need, but it's sporadic and it's generally in small amounts.
Yeah, you have information on the sale to Colbert itself. It's on the back page of the information that I provided you.
A lot of it goes to Calera.
So,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
Is a resident of Calera or Colbert, do they have a relationship with the city, with the cities of Calera or Colbert and have an account, or do they have a relationship with RWD 5? See what I'm saying? Like if I live in Calera and write my check, am I writing it to RWD or to Calera?
To the city or the town of Calera.
So Calera has meters at their customers'
What
houses.
Rural Water District 5 is doing is serving as the wholesaler to the city of Calera, which is in violation of our agreement because they're not providing it directly to that end user.
I got you.
There is apparently, and there's other people who know way more about this pursuant to the information I've received. There's a master meter from Rural Water 5 to the town of Calera, and it's in your packet. Since July of 2017, the Rural Water District number 5 has transferred to the town of Calera 264 million gallons of water.
What was that date again?
Since July of 17, so 4.5 years, 264 million gallons to the town of Calera.
Yeah, this information was provided to us directly from Rural Water District 5 when I requested it. So,
John, could we not sell our sales directly to Calera?
we could. I know Calera is working on providing water for themselves, and potentially they could connect to us for water in an emergency situation back up to their well system once they're on their own system. But we could provide water to Calera.
If they wanted,
Yes,
instead
ma'am.
of them having, we could just
Yes, ma'am.
cut off
Cut
Rural
out the
Water
middleman.
5.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know how everybody else feels, but I feel like they violated the contract. They've failed to respond to any information or any correspondence you sent.
Well, they provided information.
But I mean, they
just have
have
not responded to the
ceasing-
request that the city attorney.
And they're still within the reasonable time period for response. That was just from last week.
Well, to correct it, could we not do a new contract and raise the amount that we allow them and charge them for more than that. They are growing in that area. And then not have them shut it off to Calera and Cobbett. Could we not do that?
We could.
I will tell you, Mayor, I don't know exactly what all the details are. Again, there probably are people in here that do know more than I do about it. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has a lot of involvement with rural water systems. Our options would probably be somewhat limited as far as a sort of a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, it's probably not advisable that we just go out there and turn off the tap.
I wouldn't want to do that.
At 1 million gallons. If they hit 1 million gallons on the 17th of the month, we don't just turn off the tap for the rest of the month. But it's a serious situation because it comes into, I mean, if they're taking 2 million gallons a day, and in some months they were, that cuts into the amount of water that's available to our citizens.
Right.
And they don't take them. They're not taking 2 million gallons of water a day. 2 million gallons of water a day in November. They're taking them in July or August when everybody else needs it too. So it's a serious situation that needs to be addressed. The city manager did a good job of identifying that issue, and so at least it's on the table. I don't even know that it's necessarily an action item tonight. Other than maybe to direct staff to continue to address the issue with the relevant parties, which would be Rural Water 5, whether it's Calera or Colbert, or if there's any other end users that may be identified. It's conceivable they're selling to another municipality out there. They could be selling to Atchley or to someone else of which we're not aware. I don't know that that's the case, but it certainly is at least a possibility that needs to be addressed.
To me, it seems like a simple, equitable solution would perhaps be to, money-wise, charge them for whatever they take, but have the ability to restrict the flow somewhat during periods of high usage as needed. But as far as money goes, just paying for what they get. I mean, charge them for what they get.
From a capitalization standpoint, we have to know what we have to provide because it affects our operations at the water treatment plant. So we can't just give them a free rein to be able to take 5 million gallons a day when the residents of Durant need 5 million and the capacity of our plant is only 7 million. So there has to be some type of.
And to be clear, they are paying for the water that they get.
That is correct.
They're paying per 1,000 gallons, so they're not paying a flat rate and getting up to 1 million and then
Not paying
Right.
anything.
not paying for the rest. They are paying per it's metered to them, and they are paying for the water they're actually getting, but they're
I misunderstood that.
regularly taking more than what they have been permitted to take.
Which what put us a little bit in a bind when we had all the snow and the cold.
Right, we were, the winter storm really put us in a bind. You know, the blue was freezing over, which restricted the water that we could take from the river. We were pulling water from Lake Durant, but we were sending water out at such a rate that we could not produce the amount of water that we needed to supply everybody that was taking water from the city of Durant. And that was the big issue that we had in keeping the pressure up. I mean, we went to one point to where we were just running straight pumps, and that was fine. We had no capacity in our storage tanks, but we were keeping pressure in lines. Of course, then when the electricity went out, that killed that because it messed up our variable frequency drives on our pumps. We didn't have the capacity to maintain the electrical current needed to run those pumps. So it did create an issue for us and our residents. So.
Could we?
We don't have backup generators to run the pumps then.
We do on certain months, not all. So we're working on that. Yes, sir.
I'll echo what Tom said too. I'm glad you've identified the problem and the issues, and we've addressed that with some communication. James, help me remember, because it looks like if these, it goes back to 17, there was discussion in a meeting, I think I was in here, and the town of Calera was here, and they were interested in purchasing water from the city of Durant. And I don't know whatever become of that, but it appears Rule 5 knocked on their door.
It appears they found another source.
Yeah. But and actually, we could sell it to them cheaper than what these guys were.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And they were interested. So I don't know why it went to 5. Maybe it was, they had a tap right there and they could hook
I think
up.
we had a change in administration around there for one thing, and it might have fallen through the cracks.
Mhm.
To address Colbert, I know Colbert has wells. Those wells are not that good.
Mhm.
Sometimes they've silted in, so Colbert has the capability of drawing water off of Rural Water 5 in an emergency situation. I think in 2011, when we had the drought, Colbert was drawing quite a bit of water off Rural Water 5 because those wells, the water table dropped, and those wells weren't sufficient to supply Colbert
That's
what
the
they
year we
needed.
went into,
And I think, Tom, you're probably right. I think Bennington, maybe the town of Bennington, is doing the same thing. I know Rural Water 5 now is I live we have a farm northeast of Boca Cheetah, 3 miles. It actually has a Bennington address, and it is on Rural Water 5. So it's a big footprint.
anyway, I think, if I understood Tom too, a motion to just direct the city manager and the city attorney to continue working on the water delivery contract with Rural Water District Number 5. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
And I'll second that motion because I think John needs to be the one to work on it. He's very familiar with it, and he would be good. And then if he needed the attorney's assistant, Tom could. If he needed assistance, you have Tom. So I second the motion that we have John, our city manager, handle it. We do have a motion and a second. We'll call for the vote.
We've already voted.
Oh, you waiting on me? Sorry. Okay, sorry. Doggone.
Got faith in him.
Did everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, everybody got it. It passed 5-0. Great. So our city manager will work on the situation. Okay, we have no new business. Do we have a motion for adjournment? Please.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the secretary record the vote? Stare at this little screen so I can immediately punch that button. It didn't let me do anything that time. Did it let you punch it, didn't it?
So far, I think.
It won't let me vote to adjourn. I guess I'm gonna just sit here. Did it let me vote? I don't know, John.
Yeah.
If John punched save. Cindy, did mine come through? Okay, can I just vote yes? Okay. We're now adjourned. We will, did we make the motion? So let me get over here now. We got to go to the airport. Huh? Okay. We got to leave meeting. Yes. Wave your hand when you're ready,
Yeah,
Cindy.
he actually said he got his second, they do a CT every scan every couple of months.
Did you join,
He's had
Danny?
two of them.
Yeah, I thought it did.
Did anybody join? I did.
Thought it did. By accident.
What are we doing here?
Are we ready?
I'm not holding it up, am I?
I joined.
Oh, oh shoot. How do I get in there? Jeez. Right here.
All right.
Whoops.
Who's not in, Cindy?
No, I gotta go, okay. Now, where's my deal at? There it is. Okay. Whoops.
I'm glad we didn't have one of those.
I was
4 or
in,
6
but how do you-
meeting schedule.
What did I hit?
Have breakfast in the morning.
This thing likes to go to sleep, don't it?
Are we ready? Ready? Okay. Okay. It is now 8:20, and the Durant Airport Authority is now in session. We'll call to order the Durant Airport Authority. Would the clerk call the roll?
Trustee Shear,
Here.
Trustee Tomlinson.
Here.
Trustee Morris,
Here.
Vice Chairman Brittingham,
Here.
Chairman Groupie.
Here. We all are present. We gotta vote again. Okay, first order of business, consent items. Under A, consider approval of regular meeting minutes of February the 9th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion, second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would the secretary record the vote? Mine's still not letting me. It's not letting me vote. John did that a while ago and I had, did mine vote?
Yes, but I need Jared now.
I tried to renew it up there. I never did say present voting.
She did.
Oh, okay.
Well, you're right, it's still showing.
We need to pass the burden. We need to pass the burden.
Aye.
Are we ready?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Regular minutes approved. Item next is number 3, information item. A, Airport Manager Monthly Report for February 2021. James, did you want to give a report or? I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I thought
That's
you.
okay, no. Our fuel sales have been up, you can see from the report that's in there. We're selling quite a bit of Jet A fuel. Our 100 low lead tank was to be here at the end of 21st of February. Ironically, that happened about the same time we had the bad weather. They put that off. They were supposed to be here yesterday. They did not show. We have contacted them and do not have a response yet from them why they're not here. So we have pictures of the tank, but and the tank is completed as far as the manufacturer goes, but the installation has not occurred on the timetable they told us it was going to occur on. So we're going to visit with them again about that hopefully tomorrow and find out why they haven't met their obligation to us now that they were supposed to have this finished in the end of December. We've continually been moved back for one reason or another, and I would like for them to answer why they've missed this deadline as well, because it does affect us. We have been able to resell 100 low lead, but we pay a higher price because we have to buy it 1,000 gallons at a time, and we don't get the discount on that. And so it's also sometimes we have to wait on a truck, whereas if we had our own fuel farm, it'll hold 12,000 gallons of fuel, and that way we can time the delivery. When it gets down to a certain point, we don't ever run out that way. So anyway, I hate to report that, but that is where we are. We did find out that the people who are supposed to be here are in Stillwater. We don't know why they're there, but I will track that down tomorrow.
Do you know if the tank's even left the facility?
I do not. Do not. The tank was supposed to arrive originally they were supposed to be on the 21st, and then it was supposed to be here. They were supposed to leave with it Monday, be here with it yesterday.
But we don't know if it's in transit or not.
No, sir, we do not. But we will know.
Anybody want to ask James any questions? I'm hearing a lot of good things about what's going on out at the airport, so.
We've got a lot of work to do out there. It's just like some of our other areas. It will take a while, but we are working hard to change it and to get it to be at the top of its game. We're very fortunate in the fact that we have a beautiful terminal building there. We have the 8th longest runway in the state of Oklahoma, and we can land relatively large aircraft on that runway. So we have a lot of things going for us. We have over 90 aircraft that are based out of our airport. The university has 21, Choctaw Nation has 3, First United has 3, and the others are either 1 or 2 owners. We have a total of 48 hangars. Every one of them has at least 1 aircraft, a lot of them more than 1. So we're moving.
Sounds like it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, James. Okay, it looks like that we're down to item number adjournment. Did I miss anything? Huh? John, do I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
we have a motion, we have a second. Would the secretary please record the vote? We'll vote, there he goes.
Let's see, is that gonna be on here?
John, you made me think I'd missed half that stuff. Cutting up.
Aye. If I'm the holdup, aye.
I think Tom's ready to go home. Yeah, we're adjourned, I guess. Yes, we're adjourned.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Tom, we'll see.
Yeah.